Today in the Boot Guy, we are looking at the Dauntless soft toe from Reebok Work. So you're probably thinking, just like I am, it's been over a year, if not almost a year and a half since the last time I reviewed a pair of Reebok Work boots. Why? They really haven't had anything new on the market. They came out with Zig Kick a few years back. They came out with some of the Baller and all the other shoes. And Reebok had all these new styles hit the market at one time. Then they kind of relaxed and just let the sales build up. But the Dauntless is something new. Now, it is a combination of a lot of their tactical boots, a lot of their military boots, and a lot of their work boots rolled into one lightweight boot. And between you and me, I really don't want to call this thing a boot. I want to call this thing an 8-inch high top, because the Dauntless falls into that ultralight category of boots. As far as black tactical uniform type boots go, the Dauntless comes in at probably the lightest thing I've had in my hand and weighed in over 2 years. Now, with all that being said, don't get sold on the idea that something's ultra light, that it means it's going to be ultra comfortable. Not necessarily. Sometimes lightweight shoes are comfortable right out of the box, but as soon as you start to break them down and break them in, they lose whatever it is, the resiliency that is making them comfortable. Reebok, on the other hand, has combined all of the technology from all the different shoes that they've released over the last 2 years. They put it into one so it doesn't break down and it doesn't lose that bounce and that comfort. So first off, what they're using is a dual density rubber bottom that is then molded, injected around some EVA. Rubber on the bottom means if you're wearing this for its intended purpose as a security guard, as somebody that's in private contracting security, you're going to need something that you can actually run in, climb in, and do your job in. Having rubber soles is much better than having EVA soles because you get traction, you get grip when you move from surface to surface. Now, when you're running on rug, no matter what you got your foot in, it's going to be grippy. Rug and shoes always grip unless we're talking leather soles. But when we're talking tactical boots, most of the time, they're like glue on rug. But it's those times that you move from rug to smooth floor that having a rubber sole and having something that's a dual density rubber. So what that means is it's a harder density just on the bottom of all the little nooks and crannies. And then the nooks and crannies, the parts that protrude from the sole, are a softer rubber. That's that slip resistant grippy rubber that Reebok is known for in the industrial shoe section of footwear. Now, that beautiful sole is attached to a seamless micro mesh that then has all of this printed material on top in order to reinforce it. Now, back in these sections here, you can see where they've actually added in some material to sew it down, to keep it together and reinforced. But most of the darker sections of this boot have been printed onto it in a screen printing type process. Now, it is a soft toe, so that means it's not comp, it's not steel. It's a basic type tactical boot, but they do reinforce the toe with a heavy-duty rubber material. Yes, it is a side zip, and unlike most side zip boots, what you get with the Dauntless, with this type of 3D material, with this seamless mesh, is that when you find your perfect lace, when you can have this thing tied up to your perfect place around your foot, when you use the zipper, the mesh is going to flex and move, so you can actually take these on and off without really having to untie and loosen up your laces once the boot is broken in and has taken on the memory of your foot. Now, when it comes to taking this thing apart and taking a deep look inside what your foot is actually being placed on, what you're going to notice is underneath there is that there is an EVA sewn down foot pad. Nice. That's pretty typical for Reebok. They do this in a lot of their work shoes, and it's been a constant thing with them. So it's no big surprise to see that. What I am surprised at is that they actually use their foot fuel insole. Now, this is a real good heavy duty, heavy single density insole. What happens with this insole here is that you don't break this thing down. It's so thick and it's such a dense piece of material that as you're running around in these things all day, you've got the full energy return. And when you start adding this insole with that blue footboard that's down there, plus the midsole material, the EVA midsole on top of the dual density rubber, what you then create is you create this pocket for your foot of energy absorption. And when I say that, what I mean is that if you're running, jumping, climbing, doing the things that you do in tactical boots, if that's your profession, you've got something on your foot that's not going to start to wear down your knees and start to wear down your ankles. And by the end of the day, carrying all your weight of your gun belt, your security belt, and all that stuff, you start to feel it in your hips and you start to feel it in your thighs. Having a boot that actually supports your foot and gives your foot a little bit of a bounce back is a pretty wise choice. All right, size and fit on the Dauntless. Now, personally, what I've always felt about Reebok is that they run a little small. So the first time I had this thing on my foot, I have to say I was surprised. I was surprised because it seems like they changed their last and they're making their boots more in line with other tactical companies. A 12 in this thing felt spot on. So when I did try it on with some really heavy duty wool socks, I felt just a little crammed, but then I tried it on with all my tactical socks and I was really surprised on just how comfortable it was and just how much space there was inside this material. Now, this seamless mesh material, this stuff really does stretch and flex. And if you have to stand and be stationary because of that stretching and flexing, you don't feel like you're crammed inside this thing. And we all know that when you have to stand in one spot all day long, what eventually happens is you start to swell. Your feet will swell. It's just gravity working with all the salt in your body and it's just saying, hey, we want to stay down here where it's nice and warm. And that's what happens. So having that seamless material is a really nice touch because as your feet start to swell, the material moves with that. So I said all these beautiful things about this boot, but what I didn't tell you is that personally, I have never liked a lightweight 8-inch boot like this. I've always liked something that's had more support and just more guts behind it, more leather, more suede, something that's AR-61 compliant where you have to use those types of materials, those Berry compliant materials in order to build the boot properly. But outside of my personal opinion, understanding who's going to buy this boot, I see this having a real strong place on any store shelves and a really strong place in your collection if you have to wear tactical boots. And I say collection, I use the word collection because if you work a security job and if you're standing 15 hours and you only own one pair of boots, please let me encourage you to pick up a second or third pair of boots. You have to give your body a break from sitting in the same footbed every single day, and you have to give your knees a break from standing in the same boots. So pick up 2 or 3 pairs. Make the Dauntless one of those, and I think you'll be happy with it as long as you can swing the soft toe. So that's the Reebok ultra-lite Dauntless, something new from the Reebok collection of their work line. Hey, if you're currently wearing any of the older Reebok tactical boots and you're happy with them, comment below. Let guys know which model you had, how long they last, and what type of work you're doing in the Reebok tactical boot. Hey, if you're interested in seeing some detailed photos I took of this boot, please swing by thebootguy.com, check out the detailed photos, and check out the other information about some of the other reviews I've done on Reebok footwear. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. It really helps out. And if you get some time, please stop by my Patreon page and really consider supporting me on Patreon. If you feel the work I'm doing here with my boot reviews, with my Ask the Boot Guy questions is really working out for you, and if you really enjoy them, please take the consideration whether or not you want to support me. Hey, if you're about to pick up a pair of these Dauntless or any of the new Reebok work tactical boots or military boots, and you've got some questions about size and fit, the length, the width, just how they perform, what the zippers are made out of, if you got any questions about nuances like that, feel free to shoot me over an email. All right, until the next time, I'm the Boot Guy. Thanks a lot for watching.